Hey, it's Tess. I wanted to get on here before the night gets away from me. I am still currently working out of the book U Squared. For those that don't know me, I am 10 years into a journey of bariatric surgery. I started going live to share my journey and to share that was the beginning of a lot of changes for me. I learned some new skills or some new disciplines at the time that I was trying to take back control of my health. And those were tips and tricks that I use in all areas of my life. If you learn things to help you improve one area of your life, you can apply them to all areas of your life. And today I want to continue with the U Squared. And U Squared, this particular 2-page section is called Suspend the Disbelief. And what I love about this entire book is it's about quantum leaps. It's about getting rid of the ordinary, looking for the extraordinary. It's about jumping instead of walking. We all learn slowly, and then we jog, and then we run, and then we walk, we marathon. Whatever we do, we take steps. But what it's talking about is that we maybe take more steps than we need to, that there are opportunities to leap. Quantum leaps. And it's been kind of interesting for me to look at it because it's helped me to recognize times in my life where I probably pulled back and I could have leapt more. And I want to do more leaping because, we don't know how long we're here for. And I often and always say, I want to slide into home plate, get a high five and say, you might have started late, but you got a lot done. So that means that I have to do things differently. And I'm going to start this before I get into those 2 pages from the book. I'll start with some quotes because we know I love quotes. And I found 3 today that kind of felt like it was the journey, this journey about ditching the doubt, dispelling the doubt, overcoming the doubt, making it just be a little tiny step in your journey. And the first quote I found says, "The beginning of wisdom is found in doubt. In doubt, we find the question, and by seeking, we may come upon the truth." Peter Abland. And I thought that's a great way to look at doubt. It's not a place we live. It's a place we briefly visit, find the question so that we can seek the answer. So doubt shouldn't be any place we live very long. It should be short-lived and something we move past quickly. And I'll go into this book. It says suspend disbelief, or basically suspend doubt. Act as if success is for certain. Instead of holding back because you don't have proof, you can make that quantum leap. See if you can end up getting the evidence that you can't do it. Because basically what's happening is if you push through and if you get the evidence that you can't do it, you know you tried to do it. But if you believe that you can't do it without ever trying, you never get the evidence to support that statement. So it could be a faulty theory. So you have to test the theory to make sure it's a legit theory. It says, just make the jump. Act as if your success is guaranteed, and then see which set of ideas you should believe in. And then that is it's almost like I often want to live my life that I've taken every chance because I don't want to have the day I'm called home, I don't want to take gifts to the grave with me. And I don't want to wonder what if. If I didn't jump, what if I had jumped? What if I had tried? And I haven't always been like that in my life. I think I always had a wanting to do that, but I had a fear to do it. And I had to overcome that idea and turn that idea of the discomfort with fear into an excitement to learn. And so it's all in a twist of words or a twist of thought or a twist of theory. I don't want to be fear to take a chance. I want to be excited to get an opportunity to learn. I don't want to live in doubt. I want to let it be an opportunity to jump into action so that I can do something differently. So if you must doubt something, doubt your limits and push past and see how far they truly can take you. Your mindset, we all, it's so funny. I know I always bring this up every day. It's so funny, mindset. In the very beginning of this journey, mindset was that word I absolutely hated. And I hated the word mindset because when I was trying to battle weight loss, and for those that don't know, I've lost over 100 pounds twice in my life. And I never, like the first time, I really never thought I was going to be able to master it. And I didn't master it. But unfortunately, I had some medical conditions come up that were pretty serious, and it derailed things for me. But I didn't have a belief in myself. And when I didn't have a belief in myself, I didn't have the tools to move forward. And everyone threw out this word mindset, and I had no idea what it meant. I'd look up online. I'd go to counselors. I would try to talk to different people, and everyone would be like, oh, you're fine. And I'm like, no, I'm not fine. I don't know what mindset is, and how do I fix this? Well, ultimately, I'm going to say that this book, Courage to Change, my book that I just released in early February, are the tools that are mindset. So my book is about the thing that I absolutely couldn't get my hands around, which is mindset. And it's about taking a set of thoughts that I had in my life and trying to turn them, or trying to come up with a better way so that I could move forward in my life, because I wasn't. I got to a BMI of over 60. I wasn't living my life. I honestly thought maybe that's what my life was supposed to be. But I'm so grateful to be on this side of it now, because there's a lot of life left to live. And I want to see how far I can take it, how many people I can help, and what kind of a legacy, whether they remember my name or not isn't important, but what legacy I leave for the generations to come to change their lives. So going back to this book and that little word mindset, your mindset for the moment may be flawed by doubt and skepticism. The idea of making a quantum leap in your performance, jumping from your present level of achievement to one of several stages higher in one bold stroke, is an alien idea. And I know for me it was an alien idea, because I always thought small incremental steps. But you know, the most fun I've always had in the things that I've accomplished in life were when I went past the small incremental steps. I've talked about a 300-mile bicycle ride that I did for Make-A-Wish, raising money for Make-A-Wish. I didn't own a bike. I hadn't ridden in a long time. I was doing some spinning classes, but I jumped in and I did the 300-mile bike ride 3 months later. So in that time of 3 months, I bought a bike, learned to ride with the clip-in shoes, and that was kind of that was a task. I had to learn how to use those. And I actually completed the ride. Another one for me was, I was decided one summer that I was going to get a few extra credits, because I've always liked to learn. I wish the Google University or YouTube or any of that was around when I was younger, because I would have loved that. That's just my thing. I love that. Audibles even too. It was hard for me to transition to Audibles, but I love education. So if I had known that, I would have moved forward differently, because I love that opportunity to learn, to grow, to be more. But jumping, you want to take the quantum leap in your performance, jumping from your present level of achievement to one several levels higher. We all learn to kind of take incremental steps. I think we can take bigger steps. We can fill in the gaps faster with bigger steps, because nowadays we're in a world that there's all kinds of tools available to us. And I love the tools that are available to us now. If I have a question, I can ask my phone. I can look it up on the internet. Those were tools that weren't available. And I shouldn't date myself like this, but you know, there were days when like elementary school had the little card boxes where you'd have to go look something up, and then it would tell you like which row and which dot to go. You know, you'd have to know like the row and the number to go find your books, but you would look up. You didn't have like a computer to look things up, because there weren't computers until I was like, I think high school, or yeah, probably high school is the first I saw of computers. And everything was labs. You didn't even have smart computers on everybody's desk. We all had labs that we worked out of. But you had to do the slow way of studying. Nowadays, we have so much available to us. I think that taking the small incremental steps that maybe I was groomed to take when I was younger aren't necessary, because the tools that I need are more readily available. And it maybe for a lot of us, we learned from our parents or ourselves as we were younger, parents, grandparents, and we think that these smaller steps will get us there, but maybe we can start to look at things and take bigger leaps. So I do believe that to be the case with U squared, quantum leaping. So you haven't been trained that way. We haven't been trained that way. You may have a definite reservation about possibility, but I got to read that again. You may have definite reservations about the possibility that you can make such an exponential improvement, particularly with less effort and in a very abbreviated time frame. I got to not talk so fast. I know there's doubts. I have doubts myself. But what I find is that the greatest accomplishments are when I push myself farther, faster. Like I was saying, it's even now people laugh, but I became a life agent a year ago. I'm working on the IBC practitioners, but that has taken a little bit of a backseat to getting some applications completed for some other things I'm doing. But what I've kind of found is that what I was groomed to think life was going to look like when I was younger is not what it looks like now. And I can either be a victim to it or I can be proactive and look for it to be different. And because I was a person that sat on the sidelines at a BMI of 60 just about 10 years ago, and I truly, really just was thinking that I was going to get off the bench for 10 years. And then if I got called home, at least I got to live my life, because I had a lot of medical things when I was younger that caused life not to be what I would have chosen. So in order to move forward, I was actually just going to accept 10 years where I could be more active. That's all I was seeking. When I think about what has been made available to me now, I'm blown away and so grateful for the opportunity. So for me, I feel like there's so much time lost that I'm going to jump as fast and far as I can. And if I trip and have to have a cast here and there, well, so be it. But I don't want to miss opportunities. And I think for so many of us, slow and steady wins the race has often been the comment that's made. But if there's an opportunity to speed it up a little bit and take a leap, I want to do that. I want to slide into home plate, have God give me a high five and say, you might have been a late starter, but nicely done. And that is what I want to hear. Says the experts generally agree, though, that people typically use only about 10% of their true potential. And that scares me. I don't want to take gifts to the graveyard. I want to use as much of my potential as I can figure out how to extract and share. Because anything that we put out into the world today that we share is going to reach other generations. It is a legacy. And even me that was not able to have children, I believe it's a legacy that I can leave to those that I come in contact with in my life. So that's always my idea. Reach out to the people around you, because they don't have to know who your name was. They don't have to have the same blood running in the veins that you have. But you can leave a legacy behind, because what you put into the world creates a better world for the next generations to come, which is a lot why I'm involved with the infinite banking process, which is the big black book. And that's where I'm helping families to learn to take control of their financial futures by using specially engineered and designed whole life policies with high cash values to create a banking process to internalize banking functions inside a family unit instead of a banking unit. So if that's anything anybody wants to learn about, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to get you a video to watch and hold your hand through that process. But that is the change of my life. I looked at what I did younger. I worked in accounting and insurance for 30 years. I wanted to do it differently. And when this presented to me as an opportunity to change lives, it was something I had to get into. And now, since I'm not 20 years old anymore, I need to know about these quantum leaps. And, even if I was 20, I'd want to know about the quantum leaps, because that's just how I roll. But it says, the experts, and I already mentioned this, but the experts agree we only use 10% of our potential. If we accept that argument, and even if there were no other resources outside yourself that you could bring to bear on this situation, you could still do 10 times as well as you're doing now. And like I was mentioning, I think that I think our opportunities are bigger because our resources are bigger than they've ever been at any other time in our life. And they continue to grow. They continue to improve. Like I said, I, in the very early days of my elementary education, used a card system to try to do research. Nowadays, it's just amazing. It talks again that your skepticism, which you presume is based on rational thinking and an objective assessment of factual data about yourself, is rooted in mental junk. Boy, talk about a slap in the face. Our theories about small incremental steps is rooted in mental junk. Wow, that's tough. Your doubts are not the product of accurate thinking, but habitual thinking. And for me, I have to say that is true. I thought I was supposed to fit in the box that everybody educated in. Because I was a tutor for a number of years and I tutored reading for learning disabled and just regular students, I remediated probably 50 to 75 students in my time that I did that. And that's actually been a great gift. But I know that the limitations that they were placing on my students were actually, I believe, because of a system that wasn't equipped to teach in a different way. Because if you could teach in a different way, all of these kids, unless there was a brain injury, had the opportunity to catch up with the rest, but it took a different set of skills and a different approach, which for what I taught was, I taught Orton Gillingham, sequential, repetitive, step-by-step learning. But you had to teach repetitive and step-by-step because they had to get it short-term to move it to long-term. But they had to look at it differently because I would say most of them were very creative. So their brains were, and they actually did CAT scans to look at it, their brains were wired that initially they were going to the other side of the brain. And the more you remediated and worked with them with skills, gave them a skill set, when they started working on educational things, it kind of clicked over to the other side. So our doubts are habitual thinking. I better slow down. Years ago, you accepted flawed conclusions as correct. And, I'm even going to add that maybe they weren't incorrect. Maybe they were correct then, but they're incorrect now. Everything changes. Everything moves forward. We have to be ready to grow and to improve. I know people are sometimes afraid to change, but I kind of think about even the world we live in right now. If I could leave it healthier and happier and more full of love, then wouldn't that be a great thing? If I could help people to see that if we loved ourselves and we loved the people around us, that we love the world and we help the world to heal. If I was to decide that the conclusion is it is what it is right now and it just keeps getting worse, then I perpetuate and I invite it to get worse. Or I can decide that that's a flawed conclusion, and I kind of was groomed to believe the worst. I was groomed to look for I was groomed like a victim. Always look for the worst, expect the worst, because if you expect the worst, then you're not going to be disappointed. But what I didn't realize is that's what I drew to myself. If I put myself in a place to feel good, in a place to adjust my mindset, hence the book, once I got to that point of adjusting my mindset, it changed everything for me. Years ago, you expected flawed conclusions as correct, began to live your life as if those warped ideas about your potential were true, and ceased the bold experiment in living that brought you many breakthroughs in behaviors as a child. So if you think about it, children are fearless. They're really fearless. I'll never forget. And Nick Morrison, if you ever happen to watch this, you'll probably kill me for telling this story. This kid, we went out one day, and I had a car seat in the back seat. And he decided he didn't want to be in that car seat. And he was like, he's the mildest, most amazing, adorable person right now. I just love to see him and what he's doing. And I just adore him. But when he was little, he was a spitfire. Put him in the car seat and he hated the car seat. And I didn't make it like one block. And I'm telling you, this thing was secured tight in every avenue because we knew we had to have him in tightly. And I get stopped at a red light and I look in the rearview mirror and I'm like, oh my goodness. And he had like slid somehow. I don't know. He must have been part amoeba. He slid out of that car, sat on the top of it with his arms folded, looking at me in the rearview mirror. And I'm like, we got to pull over like immediately because this kid cannot be sitting on top of the car seat. And I'm telling you, I witnessed and checked how tight it was. I don't know how he got out, but we have to have that adventurous spirit. Instead of being stuck, that kid figured a way out. And I still to this day don't know how he figured a way out. But it says, you need to be skeptical of what we learned was once the way to do it. I know that for a fact. Everything I'm doing now is not what I ever expected to do. And it's led me down past there. Yes, it takes work, and yes, it takes education, but it's providing me with opportunities that I never saw as opportunities for myself. And I'm grateful for that. Right now, we've got to suspend disbelief in our abilities, and we have to open the door for new ways to do things because there are plenty of them. If it will make it easier, hold off on a while for believing anything. If you can't believe that you can let the doubt go, just believe that you don't have to attach to anything right now. Be open, because doubt is what does the most damage. It's almost like that word shame. I hate the word shame too. You don't want doubt and you don't want shame, because they're almost like closing a door before you ever open it. If you must doubt something, doubt that your abilities are limited. You want to know that you can keep pushing forward. And I thought that was really interesting, because it's a different... That's the biggest change I've made in my life in the past 10 years. That is the biggest thing that's kept me engaged in this journey, is that I had to look at my mindset in a different way to be open to learning this banking system, because if I hadn't of, I wouldn't have seen the potential and the opportunities that are out there, not only for me, but for everybody. I worked in an environment that as I walked out the door, everybody told me this was a scam. And what I told them is, I believed that in the beginning too, because I worked in an industry that provides insurance policies. So I thought I knew it all. And what I found out is that quote by Will Rogers, what you think you know that just ain't so. Yeah, be really careful what you attached to being a truth, because you might find out that even if it was a truth at one time in this world, it may not be a truth anymore. So be open to learning, be open to improving, be open to seeing if there are better opportunities in this world, because I know from firsthand experience that my life is so much more than I ever thought it could be. I truly thought that when I went to the table 10 years ago that I'd be called home within about 10 years, which means right now I'd be looking at being called home. And that's not the case. I often say, and I always say, the Grim Reaper is going to be huffing and puffing on a hoverboard 50 miles behind me, unable to catch me, because I do want to be that person that's sliding in, high-fiving God and him saying, nicely done. Open yourself up to chances and opportunities. And to end this with a little bit more, there's some hints on how to overcome doubt, discuss strategies, plan to think big and start thinking big. When I tried to scuba dive, when I was trying to certify as a scuba diver, I actually got to a point where this instructor pulled me off the side and said, "You're a weak swimmer. You're never going to be able to certify." And I go, "Please don't take me down yet. Give me a chance. Let me at least test. Let me test and find out that I'll fail that way." And he's like, "You've only got 2 weeks, but I'll let you test. But you will not go to the quarry unless you pass that test in 2 weeks." So I started swimming 100 laps a night. And I thought, I don't know what else to do, because there was nobody who could like train me in that. And I was a weak swimmer. And we had to swim with weight belts, full like tanks and gears and everything. We had to swim like 36 laps, full gear with weighted belts. And it had to be done in like less than 8 minutes. It was like some crazy thing. So I swam 100 laps a night and actually finished before every girl in class and beat 5 guys in class. And the instructor was off the charts. And he's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know how it worked, but I just tried." And I think that's what you have to do, is to take the chance, because that's what I don't want, is regrets. If I had been called home now, there would be regrets about the opportunities to help myself and help others in this journey. And I don't want to live life with regrets. I want to push forward and try, because what's the worst that happened? I tried the zip line. I got stuck halfway through. I eventually figured out how to get off of it. So was it a loss? Nope. Not at all. And that's what I think all of us need to do. There may be a little chug in the middle of the road, but just keep going and see what you can accomplish. Now, when I was talking about the quotes that I thought was kind of cool, I found 3 of them that I thought kind of told the story. And it says, "The beginning of wisdom is found in doubt, and in doubt we find the question, and by seeking we may come upon the truth." And I thought that was a great way to look at it. Doubt is a very brief stop. Because doubt, if you don't stop briefly, find the question and move out, doubt becomes the door in darkness, pretending to be alone and in need of your compassionate ear. But if you let him in, he'll bring his friends. So you want to only let doubt come in to help you find the question so that you can seek the answer. If you let doubt move in, he'll be that drunken, I'm going to say brother or brother-in-law, I don't know. I don't mean that to attach to anybody, but he'll become that person that comes in, eats, drinks, and never does anything to support the family. So you don't want to let doubt live with you. Doubt indulged soon becomes doubt realized. So you don't want doubt indulged because you don't want to realize doubt. You want to be the person that's seeking the answers that'll push you forward. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight, because I know I'm a little late, but I was out running around. I want to, hopefully, if it doesn't go down, we have a 15-mile park here. And it's a really cool park, but what it is it's a floodplain. And if we have a lot of water, it fills with water. And it always fills with water from time to time, and it drains down in a couple hours. Well, I was driving past it today, and I'm like, wow, look at all the lights down there. I can't believe there's so many cars down there. There must be something going on. But when I drove by, I'm like, it's closed off. That means it's flooded. So I came back around, and the water is so high that it's almost to the viaduct, and the lights from the cars passing on the road were reflecting, and that's what I was seeing. So I want to go by there tomorrow, because there's a lot of homes in the area, but I have never seen the water so high that it almost hit the viaduct. So yeah, I'm curious, because my little favorite place I like to go to, I couldn't get to because it was all blocked off today. But I will let you know if I see anything there, but it may possibly drain off overnight. But thank you guys for your support. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And remember, doubt is a brief stop to find the question so that you can seek the answer. But don't let doubt move in, because doubt is like that kid that sits on the couch with a bag of potato chips and never gets up to leave again. You don't want to invite that to be the normal. You want it to be just the quick stopping point so that you can seek something better. Thank you, and have a great night.